Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast. Andrea Earhart here, muralist, adventurer, and your host as I interview inspiring artists who are killing it in the art game to show you that it's completely possible to make a great living doing the thing you love to do. We highlight the business side of art to help you reach more customers, increase profits, and ultimately live a life of creative freedom. Enjoy the show. This episode is sponsored by the Mural Master Program inside of the Artist Academy Advanced membership. This program is specifically designed to help you with every step of the mural process, from coming up with an idea to finding a wall to paint it on to pitching your ideas to businesses, and finally, of course, I teach you exactly how to paint large scale. Murals are a lot of fun and a great way to grow your art business. I know, because it has been one of the top ways that I've been able to grow my own art business as quickly as I have. With several years of experience as a muralist, I've dialed down the painting techniques, the proposals, the pitching, the whole bit. And now I've compiled it into one resource for you called the Mural Master Program. This is included inside of the Artist Academy Advanced membership, and I would love to invite you to join us by going to artistacademy.co, that is artistacademy.co, and click the link to see the Mural Master Program and learn more. And that's it, so let's get on with the show. This week's episode features a cartoonist. I was so dang excited to interview the first ever cartoonist to appear on this podcast. Eva Lacy is the animator behind Critterosity, which is a series of characters made and sold to appease the youth in all of us. Her art is so cute and adorable and so fun, and I was so surprised to find out that Patreon takes up the majority of Lacy's business. The girl has it figured out. We dive into all things art memberships as I try to dissect exactly how Lacy is doing it. For anyone unfamiliar with Patreon, it's basically just a membership platform that makes it easy for artists and creators to get paid. You simply send your patrons or your fans or your customers or whatever you call them to the Patreon platform, and they can sign up for whatever pricing tier you have set up to easily support your art journey. Sounds pretty great, right? I thought so too. And I personally know very little about the Patreon platform, so spoiler alert, I asked Lacy in this interview, and we figured it out afterwards. I asked her if I could license her full Patreon course, explaining how exactly she does business through that platform, and she said yes. So her course is currently inside of the Artist Academy Advanced by the time you're hearing this episode. So if you're a student, just go over to the Contributing Artists section of the Academy website and enjoy. It shows you exactly how to set up Patreon and make money from it and just do the whole bit, just like Lacy. However, if you're not inside the Academy just yet, don't worry, keep listening because Lacy still gives lots and lots and lots of great tips about Patreon and animation throughout this episode. So let me know what you think about this week's episode with Eva Lacy. If you could just start off by introducing yourself, maybe anybody who hasn't heard about you just yet, and just tell us a little bit about everything you do, because there's a lot. Like I went through your website, you do a lot. So let's hear it all.
I do a lot. That does put it all in a bubble. So I'm Eva Lacy, and I am Critterosity, as most people know me, and that's like a critter. And then OSITY, like curiosity and critter mashed together. So many people can't say it. So let your critterosity run wild is what I always say. And I really do so much. I started off as a caricature artist, a face painter, I did murals like you, but I was not good. And I knew from the get-go, this is not for me. I don't do big scale stuff. And then I always wanted to be in animation. You'll hear that a lot from us artists here in SoCal. I wanted to be an artist and work in animation. And then when I realized that wasn't for me, I was like, well, how do I still be a cartoonist? And so I dabbled in the characters, didn't like the service part. And then I rolled into just kind of creating my own little characters. And then Disney fan art, because I live right by Anaheim. So I turned into fan art, and to do Comic Cons and sell at those, you have to cater to the audience. And my big thing is when I do fan art, I try to make it, I try to make it more my own than look just like the character. So I'm also an advocate for pushing people to be artists, which is why I adore you. I don't even know how I didn't know about you. I'm so excited. I'm an advocate for that. So I wanted to have people attend a show where they got education for animation, so they were more prepared than I ever was. And so I started the Ground Zero Animation Expo, which unfortunately is on hold due to everything this year, but it's been going for 5 years, and I get major names from the industry, like Disney artists and stuff like that, and then they come out and they teach and train all day at workshops, and these college students are spending like $20 to get in the door, and then they can just pay the artist if they want to take a workshop. The artists know, like, you cannot charge them more than like $20 a ticket. It's not okay. So they can do everything they want in like $100 or less for the whole day, where other conventions were lots of money to go to. Even I couldn't afford it. I mean, and I wasn't even into the industry, and I was like, yeah, I just want to go. And it was like $90 a ticket. And I'm all, ah. So, but yeah, and I'm from a small town, so I wanted to give back to those that don't know what to do either. And then I started the Isle of Magic Marketplace, which is happening right now online, and it's everything magic related, plus extra. It could be originals by artists, and it's like a virtual vending opportunity. So there's so much more, but I can't even think of it all. But yeah, I'm always moving, always going.
Okay, awesome. So tell me about, I love all of this. It's something I know nothing about, which I love. And so tell me about the products that you sell as well.
So I try to dabble in a little bit of everything with my art. Like, what can I put my art on? What can I, stickers, magnets, books, t-shirts. You'll learn really quick what works for you, what doesn't, who your audience is and not. So I've tried some things and then pulled back. Just recently I came out with 2 new enamel pins. I'm not a huge enamel pin person. I know, I'm sorry I said it. I collect my friends' enamel pins, and then I just like keep them in a nice little box, and I'm like, they're pretty. And then once in a while I'll put one on. But I wanted to create I wanted to start going with my original characters again, because I noticed somebody wrote, how can I sell fan art? And I'm like, hey, you can ask me, but I'm teaching workshops online that explain all this stuff. So FYI, there are rules with fan art, and they're very random. But yeah, I offer commissions from time to time. But with fan art, let's just say a company says you can't make that, and I'm stuck. I'd rather have my own original character line that people like, because at some point Mickey Mouse was made up by somebody, and at some point some other character was made up. I want to be the person making up my own character that might become somebody big, So yeah, I do fan art commissions from time to time. I do Patreon, which takes up pretty much 3 weeks out of my month. And then the other week is like, can I do my own thing? So yeah, I'm a full-time artist. This is all I do. Commissions, Patreon, and making merchandise to sell on my shop. So that's it. Yay. Okay,
there's so many ways I want to go with this, but first, you mentioned you spend 3 weeks a month on Patreon. Let's talk about that. So what's your process like? Well, what do you offer? What's going on there?
Yeah, I'm always changing a little bit or adding something new, or going, I don't have the time for this, so how do I keep them happy but give them something else? So when I started Patreon was almost 5 years ago. And honestly, I was encouraging it. I slowly, over the last month, have changed to a new platform. So I want everyone to know I'm not on Patreon anymore. Just FYI.
What are you on?
customer service and bad stuff happening to the database. So I don't want to bash anyone. Everybody chooses their own way, but they were changing things. And I think due to COVID, a ton of people were like, I'm an artist, I'm going to start Patreon. And I'm like, no, it got overloaded. And I don't think Patreon was ready for that. Okay. And they're also doing drop shipment, where you're supposed to buy like mugs through them and they'll print it and send it to your people. But they want to cut. And the commission that they take from me, somebody that's using it as a full-time living, it's a massive amount. Where another platform was charging a flat fee of like $40 a month or $20 a month. And I'm like, okay, as an artist, we want to hold on to that money to buy more merchandise and products and all that. So everybody will find their own path. And I keep telling my friends that are on it, like, they're like, oh no, you moved. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? Just do, if it's working, keep it. I loved Patreon. It got me out of being homeless as an artist. And that's some other, that another time. But I was in a transition in life and I didn't have anything. And Patreon saved my life. It literally saved me. So now with this new platform, I'm through Subly, and I call them my art heroes. So it's going to be really hard to change the name from Patreon to art heroes. I'll say patrons all the time, but they are my art heroes. They believe in art and they rescue me through buying my artwork. So I offer sip and paint, where they can join for $10 and we vote on what they want to learn. And it's usually a character they love, but I do it in my own style. We meet up once a month live, and it's private for them, and they get to do it. They can watch the recordings over and over. I offer commissions, which are always sold out. And then people that are new are like, I want a commission. And I'm like, but I can't make them move because they love me, and I don't want to hurt feelings, but they've been here forever. And then there's Brooch of the Month, where I make a new brooch, and I just posted like a Leica one from Box Trolls. Yeah, I just did that, but that was for one of my patrons that gets a mystery box. Don't worry, they won't be watching this. They're good. So, I offer magnets, buttons, mirrors. They're all different reward tiers for people that might be like, I can only spend $5. They get an exclusive. And then every other Sunday, this Sunday, I have a sale on my shop, and I try to sell the Patreon stuff that's left over, and it's just for a limited time. And then anyone can kind of grab it if they can, but it goes really quick. And so I just tell people, you have to follow my stories. If you're not a patron, it's kind of a bummer because they get special deals and exclusives and background footage of things happening and first to knows. And so it's huge. There's so many things. And I have new rewards coming, like coloring pages, digital to painting, painting to digital, where they take an old painting. I don't scan my paintings. And then I turn it into a digital piece so everyone can enjoy it. But they're paying for me to do that piece from a painting to digital. And I believe that they're two different things. So whoever has the original, I'll change up a little on the digital. But digital and painting, they're two different things to me. So I was like, I'm sorry, this is my belief and this is my platform. So if you don't like that, maybe don't order from me.
No, I'm sure they all love it. It sounds like you're doing very well with it. So I'm putting myself in the shoes of an artist who's listening, and they're like, I was thinking about starting a Patreon, but I don't even know what to do with it, how to promote it, and this girl is rocking it. So what are your tips for the people who want to start out with Patreon and who maybe don't really know a whole lot about it yet?
Absolutely. There are definitely workshops you can take. I have created my own Patreon workshop because I'm sure you probably get asked all day long, what products do you use? Who are you using for this? How do you get your connections? How do you do this? I was like, I need to create a workshop, and what you do with that workshop is up to you. They're $15. You can watch them anytime. You can keep the link. I always ask for respect. This is my livelihood, so me taking the time out of my day to create that workshop. Anytime I make a new workshop, I promote it. You can watch live and chat live. As soon as that's over, I still accept emails about the workshop as long as you prove that you paid for it. So if they're like, yeah, I bought it, but I had some questions and I couldn't watch live, it's fine. That's part of what you're paying for, is me to answer. But you have to kind of buy the $15 to understand. Okay. I talk about my experience. I can't say it's for, they might be doing music or poetry for Patreon and it's totally different. Yeah. But I'm like, the same rules apply. It's start small and work your way up. Never start a Patreon looking at somebody else, what they're doing. You're in your own journey. Like, don't compare yourself. Just start small. I started with, I think it was 2 people for like 5 months. I watched a bit of your interview last week? A couple days ago? Sorry, yeah. I didn't even look at the date. Yeah. And you were saying, what were you saying? You said something so good about, I totally, if I think of it, I'll let you know. But just basically start small and then work your way up. Oh, you were talking about your podcast. Oh, and then you're like, finally, people are watching. And then
finally. Yeah.
We all feel that way because we all start somewhere small. Mm-hmm. So with mine, it was like, no one's joining my Patreon. I need money. And I did it for the wrong reasons. I was doing it to get money because I was making nothing. I gave up my store in Anaheim where I sold for artists. And I closed, and I just, on a whim, was like, I'm going to do my own thing. And I had been living out of my shop for about a month. I didn't know what else to do. And so when I started the Patreon, I was panicking. And then as it grew, I was like, okay, I need this to slow down. I have like no time. And it went from like 10 supporters in a year to about 50 supporters the next year to about 80 supporters the next year. And now I'm between 120 to 160. It varies. And it's a lot of packaging. It's a lot of envelopes. It's a lot of stamps. You have to figure out, you can't charge them shipping. So Subly's a little different. I'm learning that they'll let you charge shipping. But for me, I'm like, no, what you pay includes everything. And just start small. Don't try to take on more than you can chew because you can't take stuff away from people once you've given it. They'll be very upset with you.
Yes. Okay. So what kind of packages do you have? Let's just get into that real quick. So for your membership, basically, so you offer maybe like a lower one and a higher one and a medium one. What are your price points? What are these people coming in at?
Absolutely. They start at $5 and it goes all the way up to $75. And like I said, those ones are tapped out. Like those people have been with me for like 3 years. And I'm thinking to myself, I mean, coming into it, you'd be like, I just want a 5x5. And you don't open commissions very often. And when you do, someone grabs them within seconds. The thing is, I'm one person. I always say I'm a one-woman show. I'm the packager. I don't have any help at all. Like, if you ask my boyfriend, no way. We don't get along when it comes to that. He's a creative too. So he's like, this is so boring. And I'm like, I know. So yeah, anyway, I try to limit how many I do. So if it's mirrors, they're $7 and that's a limited mirror with the new design. So as a patron, you'll get a message that says, vote on the new design. And you get a voice to try to say it. And somebody voted for James and the Giant Peach last month. And
cute.
This is when I was still on Patreon. So you could see the blog and you could like read what people were writing. Unfortunately, with the new one, it's not necessarily a Patreon. It's like a subscription box. So it's a little different that they're going to have to vote without seeing. They'll just get like a MailChimp newsletter that'll say like vote. And then they'll vote. And if I see something that really clicks, I'm like, yep, that's what I'm going to do this month. So they get surprised, like they picked my idea, and it warms my heart. And I try to remember who made a mention. That way I don't pick the same people always, like they might pick something great and I'm like, yes, I want to do it. But it's just to inspire me. Because if you tell me draw something, I'm like, I need that little push. But yeah, as a patron, you get to do stuff like that. You get to have a voice in what I'm doing. And then there's like a time-lapse video. So if you're like, I'm just going to pay $2 and get a time-lapse video of what the new design is, they get to see the creation and I do a whole voiceover of what my process is. Okay. So, I mean, I think that one's at $2. I think $3. Sorry, it might be $3. I'm forgetting.
Okay, so you don't put it all out on Instagram. You save some stuff. And how do you know what to save? So do you put all of your video mostly on Patreon and then you post photos on Instagram, or how does that work?
That's a great question. I really pick and choose what I want to share with my patrons and what, or if it's maybe something they'll find out 24 hours before the world. It's just like a fun thing. Like, you're the first to know this. And they're like, oh, this is so cool. So I have like this huge project that is coming out possibly early next year that I cannot talk about other than saying I have a huge project. I was waiting on the approval, and once it got approved, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like one of the
Congrats.
coolest things. Thank you so much. And thank you. It has nothing to do with animation or cartoon, but it has to do with my work. And it's something I've always wanted. And I got it without trying because of Instagram. Hello. Things happen with Instagram. So many people don't use the free platform. I'm like, it's free. And so they're going to be the first to see anything about it. They're going to get the first look at the design. They're going to get the first look at the process of things happening, everything. And then Instagram will know later, but they're going to be like, I know something. And it'll be when I can share, obviously, but I'm going to hold it back from the world until I know they're about to talk about it. And then I'm like, I'm about to talk about it.
You have amazing self-control. I am so bad at keeping secrets.
No, I don't.
I don't like in my friend group, I'm like, guys, don't tell me. Like, just don't tell me if you're pregnant. Cause I just I don't want to know.
She's pregnant. You're like, I'll tell a fib. He's pregnant.
I'm such a bad liar too. If people like hint towards it, I'm like, I just have to leave. I don't know.
Samesies. I'll get all giddy and giggly, and I'm like, I used to cry every year at Christmas because my mom wouldn't tell me what she got my dad and my brother, and I'd want to know so badly because I was such a brat. And she'd be like, no, the second I tell you, you tell them. Sure enough, she'd be like, I got your dad like a hammer and nail kit, so don't tell him. And then dinner would be there, Mom. Dad, guess what Mom got you? So I got named like the narc, and I was like, no, I'm not. I swear, I'm sorry. So I'm not very good at lying, and I'm definitely not good at lying, and I'm really bad at keeping secrets. But when your project is on the line, and they're like, we will own this if you talk about it.
I know, right?
I can wait. So anyway, so they get to know that, and then Instagram is just daily stuff, like I'm working on these projects, here's things, because I think it also gets them excited for Patreon. So I'll be like, this one's for a patron. These are the new designs for Patreon. And they're like, oh my gosh, now I'm switching platforms. So I'll be adding my new link, actually today. I was giving my patrons time to move over, get their spots all set because they just transferred basically. And then I opened it up over the weekend with a swipe up link. And now today it'll be the new landing page at about 12 o'clock. Actually, Sam Tam just jumped on. She's one of my amazing patrons that gets a 3x3 time-lapse video of her painting every month. So thanks, Sam, for jumping on. Yay.
Oh, so fun. Yeah. Oh, I love how it's very organized too. You're like, this is happening then and this is happening then, and you get this. Like, it's all very organized. It takes
and I'm not I'm what do they call it? I'm not messy. I'm organized chaos.
Yes, exactly.
So same with Patreon. It's like, it looks pretty, but when the actual time comes to make it, my room's like destroyed, and I'm like, gotta make the things for the people and ship in time. So
okay. So say someone signed up for Patreon or some other platform, and they want to start offering things to people. So you said you're like $2 one is for they get videos. How much do they usually have to spend for them to get something in the mail? Like $15 or
$5?
$5. Okay.
Yep. $5 can get you a postcard, a sticker, a magnet. You get to choose, and you get the design on that. And for $5, again, that includes shipping and handling. The problem is with COVID, I've pulled back from shipping outside the U.S. temporarily until we know more, because this whole USPS thing is starting to kind of freak me out. I'm like, what if it's in the middle of shipping and something goes down? So I've been holding back. So if you're international and you decide to support, I'm sorry, it's not you. I love my international friends. I have them in Australia, England. They get them from all over. I even had Japan for a really long time.
Oh my gosh.
It's so exciting. Cool. My art is in Japan. That's crazy. And she was a nurse, and when COVID hit, they called her out in Japan to move somewhere else to go help. So she's like, I have to stop supporting. I'm like, that's okay.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's you're a hero.
People sign up for this. Yeah, exactly.
So you get that for $5. Then there's packages like get the postcard, the sticker, and a magnet for $15. There's the Stationery Club. Stationery Club is $18. You get the design on a notepad and a pen, and the pens are exclusive. You can only get them through Patreon, and I match them, so that's that. But for $20, if you can snag a spot when it opens for stationery, you get to choose one of my art prints from my shop to go on the notepad, and then a different design or the same design on the pen. So they get to be like picking and choosing. Now online, it costs a bit more money. You've got shipping, the product, and you can't get that pen anywhere. So it creates this, like, for $20, I'm getting something really cool I can't find online except for the notepad, but that costs $15, and I'm getting all of it for $20, including shipping and handling. But how long do you really need to go to keep getting notepads? I'm like, they're going to eventually leave, guys. So, yeah. But, yeah, and then they gift things. So you can even gift, like, oh, I already got this one, or, oh, I'm not big on the design that she picked. You can still get it and give it as a gift. So we get postcard people that swap out. They do the postcard exchange. Okay. And what? Oh,
because I send out postcard like prints every month. I'm actually doing it today. I'll be like signing and sending them out. So I'm definitely interested in what your postcard swap is.
No, it's really cool. I don't personally do it, but a lot of my patrons do them with friends. So there's like, you can even set them up like the Critterosity postcard swap. And when they get the postcards, they can swap them. They can mail them to other people. So there's like this whole thing with postcards. And it's awesome right now because of USPS. They're like, buy stamps from USPS, help us out. So they're going to the post office and like taking photos that like I'm shipping my postcard to my friend because one, they're going to get something they don't have. And so I'm just throwing it out there. There's so many creative ways to do it. So I'm like, my postcard can be used in postcard swaps. There's sticker swaps where, you know, like, again, some months I get a little excited. As Sam's saying, I spoiled them. I get a little excited and I'm like, you know, I did 2 versions. So you're going to get 2 stickers. You're going to get 2. And it's like my way to show them I adore them. And if they get 2, maybe the surprise one is one they already have or whatever. And they're like, I'm going to ship this to a friend. And then they'll do like a swap. So,
well, your one of your customers just commented. She goes, yeah, Eva spoils us patrons. I love that. Oh, cool. You have people shouting out for you. I love that.
And Taz just jumped on. She's been with me forever, and she snagged a 3x3 spot. She's also on multiple tiers. So in the new platform, you can support as many rewards as you want. You can be like, I want a time-lapse video. I want a sticker. I want this. In Patreon, and I always tell people, I understand this 100% what Patreon's doing. They want everyone to get something. So they're like, you can't buy multiple reward tiers. You can only get one thing. So what were people doing? Eva, you still have availability. It's been 3 months. Can my husband like sign up? And I'm like, you know what? I don't care. Go for it. So there are people, they were buying multiple, and then Patreon started kicking them off when I think they recognized they were supporting. And it's really stinky because you're like, well, what if my sister lives with me and wants something, you know? Yeah. And again, I get it, but it's caused a lot of mess for me and for them because they're like, now I got kicked off of the one I want. Someone took my spot and it's sold out. So on the new one, you can be like, oh, these are all open. Yeah, I want this one and this one. And you build your own like little cake of rewards. And
I like that.
Another perk I really liked.
So you have a full training on if someone wants to do this, right? You said.
Yes, and it's all based on my experience. I tell people like I didn't go to school for this at all. This is like if you think I'm being successful, I have a Patreon workshop, how to sell your artwork workshop. I did the dreaded tax workshop the other day, which was all prep and just keeping data entry, all that stuff, and how to find peace with it and be really happy to do your taxes. Yeah. Because if you pay your taxes, that means you made money. And I'm like, that's a good thing. Yeah. So when my taxes went up this year, I'm like, that's because I made more money. So we did this whole thing, and I love what everyone's writing. I'm like seeing it. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yes. Everybody's saying Eva's a great teacher. Her workshops are great. I love it. Okay, so I just want to. So can you let people know who are listening now or listening later on the podcast where they can go to find it? And then I have something else I want to talk about too.
Sure. So for the new Patreon, if you will.
Workshops, like the
workshops, those are all on my shop. My landing page has everything listed. Like I said, I'll link my new Art Hero platform. But everything's on my website in the menu, and that is going to be, my shop is critterosity.myshopify.com. I've just
I love
it.
Shopify. I
I
use
love
Shopify too.
Yeah. And I'm going to have a Shopify workshop coming up. So
okay. So one thing that I've been doing, so I have a Artist Academy membership, basically, to where there's several artists, and we do various topics every month and every week on things, and a couple of them have been asking about Patreon, and I just don't use it very much, and so, but I know that there are a lot are listening. So one option is to send them your way, and then they go to you directly. But another option that and we can talk about this more after, and
sure.
But I just kind of wanted to get your feel of it. So I've been licensing basically workshops from other artists and putting them into the Artist Academy membership. And so I want to talk to you about the possibility of that.
Absolutely.
We can work out some details later of what that would cost and all of that. But I just like to have things in the group, like specifically, and then have a link for you, say we get your workshop in the group, and then they love it, and then they want to go to you to get something else.
Yes, because I keep telling my boyfriend, I'm like, I just met my Eva. Like,
Yeah, I know, right?
We're so much on the same track as me.
We are, and I've noticed it. I'm like, okay, we got to work together.
But also, you did your post saying that people think that you're kind of too involved with art. I tell my boyfriend, I'm so sorry I'm cheating on you with my art. Like, I love my art. I could be in this room all day, every day, and not care about it. I'll forget meals because I'm so invested in what I'm doing. So
I love it.
Yes, to everything you're saying. Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, yeah, we can get all the details about that afterwards. Yay! But okay, great. I didn't realize you were that into Patreon, so I'm so excited to have that information. Okay, so let's go into the whole cartooning. Let's switch gears and go into like, how do you create a cartoon? So you go from nothing to creating this super cute little thing with an expression, and so how does that process work?
That it really is a process, because you also have to find yourself as an artist and separate yourself from what you're seeing that inspires you. So I'm a big advocate for speaking on behalf of artists, because we get a lot of up and coming people that are inspired, but they don't know what they're doing. They're starting their journey. And so I'm like, when I design something, I have to take myself away from the photo I'm looking at, and I have to like figure it out in my head, different ways to do it. So tracing paper is a great way to start off with the same sketch, but kind of change the eyes, change the mouth, and that way you're getting all those different pictures. Like, you can visually see it. Over time, you can remove the tracing paper and start to go, I already know what that's going to look like. Can you envision things as well before you've even created them?
Sometimes, but it just works. It works so much better with a reference photo. Like, I usually take like 5 different photos. I'm like the eyes, the notes, and then do it. But it's hard for me to do it.
Everybody thinks differently, and we're all different. I would say trained differently. I didn't get trained by anyone. I'm specifically self-taught. I didn't go to college for art or anything like that, which I'm always like, go take classes, go learn. That's great. It just wasn't in the books for me, and that's okay. But there was a guy named Bruce Blitz, and all of my followers know how much I talk about this guy. When I was growing up on the farm, there was nowhere to go. We were miles and miles and miles away from a city. The closest city was Santa Rosa, which most of you guys know is San Francisco. We were like 2.5 to 3 hours north of that by Napa. So there was no mall. There was nowhere to go to a Barnes and Noble and buy books. So what this guy taught me as a kid was I bought his book, and you would take the tracing paper and move it and create different characters. Some of you guys had books similar to that through Scholastic, and
I've never seen one of these, so I'm super interested.
So just so you know, I sell a book to make Sasquatches, very similar.
Oh, I love it.
So you can drag your paper around and draw a different nose. You can move it higher or lower. And when I taught cartooning to kids, I used to tell them that I want you to keep everything identical, but change one feature, and it will be a whole new character. So this is the same concept I take when I'm designing a character. I will, whether it's mine or I'm doing fan art, I go, okay, let's start with this, but now let's alter it. I don't know what's going on with my voice. It just goes out from time to time. Let's make smaller ears. Okay, on the next one, let's try bigger ears. Having an iPad for Procreate for me has changed my life, because now instead of throwing away paper, I can just go, new layer.
Exactly. I love the layers.
Save the trees. Use the trees only when you need to keep something for the rest of your life. But same with tracing paper, is my new layer becomes my tracing paper. I just fade out what I don't need, trace what I want. So now I've been messing with it, and I'll show in my stories what I did with my Bartok that I did from Anastasia yesterday. I drew him first on my iPad, and then I kept creating layers and did different tweaks to him. So it's not like I always just know how to draw. Sometimes I need to think about it. Simple characters are much easier than difficult characters. And that sounds so obvious. But what I mean by that is when they're really simplistic, you have to be, how do you change Baymax? How do you change Baymax? He's so simple.
Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. Big Hero 6. It was a cartoon, and he's the big white guy from it, and he's like, "Oh no,
and I'm pretty into my cartoons. I like cartoons a lot, and I'm not sure."
Disney made Big Hero 6. It was kind of a flop. My ex-brother-in-law worked on it, so I'm like, it was kind of a thing where
I think Big Hero, the big white guy, right?
Yes, yes, and he's very simple. My point is 2 dots and a line across. How do you change that to be fan art related? So back then I was like, let me add really, really big cheeks and make him like super blushy, because he doesn't really have that. And then like, let me alter a few things. But it's so hard to change Hello Kitty without it being Hello Kitty. How do you change Mickey Mouse and have it still look like Mickey Mouse? You have to learn stylizing. And so using, everyone's like, Big Hero 6 is the best. You have to use different ways of trying to alter it. And everyone does chibi, which is basically the very cute anime, squishy, chubby, adorable. And I'm like, that's been done. That's been done. When you get a really difficult character, you're like, how do I change the eyes and still keep it the same character? There's so much with it. So this is why I'm such a stickler with fan art, is like, I have to be 80% different than the photo. That way, if, goodness gracious, if someone came after me, which again, I know a lot of fan art laws,
so that's your thing, it has to be 80% different. That's so funny, because I just had a client say it just has to be 20% different, and I'm like,
no. Here's the thing, fan art, if they come knocking, well, they won't knock on your door, they'll serve you a cease and desist.
Send you a letter.
I knock on one, haven't gotten one. I'm very fortunate, but I've worked with a lot of people that have been served them. It's a slap on the hand. This is ours. We're going to tell you to stop, because they're not making money on it. That's the big key. They are mad that you're making money on it, and they're getting nothing. Yeah. It's their property. It's theirs. And my whole thing is, this is going to sound really snobby, and I don't mean it the way it's going to come out. I'm so good. I'm going to just let go of it, and I'm going to start something new. Like, you have to retrain your brain and not get sad about it. You wouldn't be making it if it wasn't for them designing it. So it has to come with respect. And my friend got paid so much money, he was able to buy a house with the amount of money that they said, we want you to stop, but we want to keep it to sell it for ourselves. So we're going to pay you off. What's your number? They went back and forth, and he was like, great, I can put a down payment on my house for my family. And they bought it, and it was a Fox company. Someone from Fox liked his line work and all that stuff from, he did Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con. And they were like, we don't want to not have it. But they've never sold it. They've never done anything with it. But he made enough money, like $50,000, to go buy a house after they bought like 3 designs. And he's like, I'll just come up with something new. I don't care. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, just because they tell you to stop does not mean you're in trouble. It's when you continue to do it.
Yeah, exactly. There doesn't have to be emotion in that whole thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've dealt with stuff in the past. I'm very like logical thinking, and then some people are very emotional. Like, I can't believe you copied me. And personally, when people copy me, unless it's local, like, if it's local, I'll be like, hey, I'm like in your back door. I can do this. If it's not local, I'm like, don't care. Literally, I do not give a shit if anybody copies me at all.
Are so similar. It's ridiculous.
I look at it as I inspired you. Like, I don't think you copied me. I think I inspired you. But there are some people who get really emotional about it and don't like it. But personally, which it's gotten me into trouble because I don't really care. So I will not copy anybody anymore. But yeah, when I get copied, I'm like, I inspired you. Like, that's so cool. And because it was just too draining for my mind to be like so negative. Because if you create good things, you get copied. That's just it. This butterfly has been copied so many times. And I'm just like, I inspired you. And I can go on with my day.
And that's awesome. I love, well, first of all, if you follow me at all in the future to anybody, I am Mrs. Positivity. I'm like, nope, this is my Instagram. I'm not going to let you control it. I'm not going to let you change me. I am a happy person, and that's going to be it. And
exactly.
It's working with kids has taught me so many lessons because I'm like, same thing. Miss Eva, he's copying me. And I'm like, because he thinks you're cool.
Yeah, like, it's because you're doing a good job. You're inspiring him. Like,
we know that we did something. And if someone else wants to tell the world that they did it, I'm like, people get their comeuppance. And I'm going to sit back and just watch it happen because I don't need to worry. I'll just come up with something else. And that's what I tell people is, go ahead, take it, enjoy that. I'm going to come up with like 500 other concepts, and you're going to be stuck going, who else can I steal from? Because they see you doing good, they want that. And I'm like, you know what? I just feel sorry for you because you don't love yourself enough to find your own thing. Like, love yourself.
Yeah. Oh my God. Someone just commented, goes, I have also copied the butterfly inspired by you for Save Girl Child project. Good. Like, they copied me. They're literally telling it right now. Great. Like, that helps your project. That is amazing.
Yeah. And it all depends on what they're doing. Me, if you're going to redraw something and you got it from me, all I say is, can you just write inspired by?
That's exactly what I say too. I'm like, you could just like tag me maybe.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah. It's
that way I can see it.
Like you said, it's when it's me. I'm in SoCal. We get a lot of similar vendors. We see each other all the time. And my thing is just that if I'm going to see you and you're like selling a sticker that I made like also, or it's slightly off, I'm like, how do you feel okay about that? But two, like, because again, I drew the line work. I know what I did, you know? And they're just like selling the sticker, but I'm like, most people know in this neighborhood, they know them and they know me, and they'll be like, I think that, so I'll get DMs weekly. Like, I think this person and I'm like, it's fine. You know what? It's okay. Like,
yeah.
There's like, nothing I can do. If they want to be that person and not say inspired by blah, 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 then it is what it is, and just know I saw it. But then there's large companies who steal from artists, and it stinks. And
to me, there's a difference between an artist who's like using your design and inspired by it, and like a big company who like has millions of dollars, like to like, you know, like to me, there's a difference between a big company and a small artist.
Absolutely. And I know they're designers. They hire so many designers. They're just hoping they didn't steal it. Like, you can only know so much.
True.
But that's what happened to my friend. I was like, they probably had no idea this designer copied your work, and it's identical. I mean, I used to sell it in my store in 2013. So when it came out like last year, I was like, this is a big company that doesn't know. Like, they're not going to research it. Show us your line work and how you did that. So once we caught it, the company was really good, and they put it away, but they'd already made money on it, and I was like, give him some money, like,
exactly,
or ask to buy it from him, ask to buy the design. But anyway, I love that we did teach somebody. They said, I'll tag you today, and this is how we learned.
Perfect. Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
That's how you learn, and that's how you make it right.
It's cool. But I was actually curious how I'm so sorry, I'm going to flip this on you. How do you do murals? Is it just from looking at a photo and creating? Because it was going to large scale that I couldn't do. I had to use a projector, and when I'm looking at your projects outdoors, I'm like, there's no way she used a projector for this.
Oh, sometimes, most of the time, I'll use a projector. I'll design it on Procreate, and then I have this big Epson projector that's like $300, and it just shoots an image on like a huge wall, and we just chalk it out, and that way you're able to see it, you know, like with the chalk line, and the chalk line can be easily erased rather than paint, and then we just paint it just like a normal painting, but with bigger brushes, really. And
how long does it take you to chalk it? That's crazy. And do you have to do it at night? Like chalk it?
Yeah. Usually, if it's a smaller wall, if it's like a 5 foot by 5 foot wall, you can usually do it midday because the projector is really strong, basically. But if it's a really big wall, we'll get out at night. And I actually have my husband has this Forerunner that has a plug-in in the back of it, and so I just plug my projector in the back of his car, and it just shoots it on there, and then we start in the morning.
It's amazing because projectors weren't really easy access when I was doing it in early 2000s, like 2000, 2001. And I was doing it for the kids at the after school program. I'd go to their house and the mom would say, "Oh, I know you do art. Can you put like fairies on the wall?" So I'd draw my fairies. It was those ones, you know what I'm talking about, the Trace Easy ones where you would just pull the little thing out of it and you'd hold it like little. Oh man, that thing wouldn't project anywhere. You couldn't get the whole wall. That I'm like, you guys have no idea what I went through to try to paint. But then painting on a wall was so hard for me. I wasn't, again, trained in anything like background in art. So I was just guessing and the acrylics. Then I went to window art and I used to do the window paintings for the holidays. But I didn't know what the paint was. You couldn't just Google what kind of paint should I use and see a YouTube video. I was like using acrylic on the window and then we'd have to scrape it all down, at the end. This other guy's like, no, it's indoor house paint and we just color it different colors. And that's what the professionals
That's exactly
use.
What it is. That's it.
So
and
it's fascinating.
Like you, I have many tutorials over how to do a mural because there's so many interior, exterior, lettering, like all the different things. But yeah, it's a whole different thing. But I love that we do opposite things so I can learn from you as well.
So I'm asking you. No, I would never do murals. I'm like, nope, I've got plenty of friends that do them. I don't need to do them for you.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've always been like the bigger the better. I just had a really hard time. Even on the iPad, I'm like, this is so small. Like, this is so tiny. I'm just like, give me a really big wall.
And everybody's like, can you paint it on a canvas? I'm all, this big. I can do canvas this small. I just love the small. I love little detail.
Oh,
I love all that.
No. No way. But I love...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I love that there's somebody out there who loves the opposite stuff because that's what makes us all so unique,
This is what I'm saying, and it's the same thing I tell people is if your character comes out different than mine when we're doing sip and paint, good. We're not the same human. It's going to look different. I can't draw like Disney. There's somebody that's been trained to like redraw as somebody else, and I'm just not that person. It will always, same with the realistic. Can't do realistic to save my life. Like, not going to happen.
Yeah. Cartoon is way more fun anyway. I love the cartoon look. Just the expressions and the colors, really realistic colors. They get so dull. And but cartoons, you can I'm going to use hot pink on this.
That's right. Because there's no rules in cartoon. And I'm a big kid. I don't have kids. I'm never going to have kids. I'm the giant kid. So I like cartoons to be really fun and really colorful and wild. But then I'll get people that don't know that just because you're an artist doesn't mean you can do every single type of art. And they're like, I want a portrait.
Oh, same. People ask me for portraits all the time, and I'm like, you will never see me do a portrait. I am so bad at those.
Yeah, I'm always like, go to my Instagram and take a look because they'll join Patreon and maybe snag a commission spot, and they're like, I'd like this and this. And I'm like, these are all things I have never done. Where in my Instagram do you see any of that's like my online portfolio? I always tell people. So I'm like, look there first and then order from me. Don't just assume I know how to just change it up because I don't. And I've been doing art for like money for like 8 years now, actually steady. That I'm not. I don't want to say I'm not nice because I'm always nice. But I will not bend over backwards for anyone. Money does not change my mind on anything. I'm like, no, really? I'm okay with my living. Like, I'm totally fine to live out of a shoebox and continue to do this. Like, I just want to be happy and I want to be proud of the product and I want it to be exactly like what I would want to show people. And sometimes I'll get an order where I'm like, it's not a character I want to promote. Like, I'll do it for you, but it's not... I don't know. I'm just so not. But then I do ones on my Instagram where I'll say, okay, guys, I'm going to draw live tonight and teach you something. What character do you want to see? And they use the little box on Instagram to write what they want. And by the end of the day, I pick one, I get it kind of prepped, and then they draw with me. So I'm always encouraging them to do something I want them to pick. Like, it has to be a cartoon from the 60s. And then people will pick, because I'm like, I want something new, but I don't know what character, you know?
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so people have to be part of your Patreon to commission you?
Oh, so most of the time, yes. On those Sunday sales, I'll open like randomly. I'll be like, I'm opening a couple brooch spots, where you can pick a character to go on a brooch, and it can even be my own characters. So a lot of people like my Sasquatches, which, bless you guys, they're like my favorite things to make. But they're like little sluggish, weird, furry creatures, and then they tell me what they want, and then I give myself about a month buffer. That way, I have time to do Patreon. But if I ever fall behind, I communicate like no one's business. And I'm like, hey, I'm 2 days behind, but I will throw in extra goodies. And I'm telling you, like, nobody's been mad about me failing. I was telling you, I'm a Gemini, so I'm business and art. I can be two people, where a lot of artists are like, oh, I'm stressed out and I don't want to finish it. And me, I'm like, it has to get done. This is the deadline. So I'm very much a stickler for being done when I say. But yeah, the commissions just open up randomly, and you never know what I'm going to offer. Sometimes I'll prep things. I'll draw characters and be like, on my shop, they're not painted yet. They're line work only. And you can be like, I want the gremlin. I want the this. I want the that. And then I take a couple weeks to finish painting it. So they just trust that I'm going to do a good job. And I'm like, I'm putting my work out there. I'm not going to do a bad job. Like, it's going to be good. So if you like the line work, it's just going to get colored now. And a couple weeks ago, I sold line work that they got to paint. So a lot of my followers love painting, but they don't necessarily do concept. So I'll draw like a cartoon character, and then I'll be like, if you buy this one, it's like a paint by color for $30. So for the line work and the prep and the nice paper, for $30, you can buy it, and people buy it really, really quick.
Ooh,
so
I love that.
Every other Sunday. So this Sunday marks this Sunday. Then I take a week off because shipping, takes forever to ship everything I sell on my sales.
Congrats on that, though. That's such a good problem to have.
Thank you. I know. I was like, I wish it wasn't COVID, because I used to have friends over to help, but.
Oh, yeah. So one thing that I do here recently, so actually I'll be doing it today, probably in the next hour after where we get off. So whenever I send out my monthly prints, they're just like $7 prints, and I just send them in a small envelope. What I've started to do, because I'm like you, I'm like, nobody likes to sit there and just stamp and put the address box on. I started to go live every time I do the shipping process, and
yes.
that makes me like just out, and I sit right here and I put the camera down so they can see what I'm doing. They can't even really see like the art half the time, but I'm packaging and I'm talking about it and I'm telling stories about it, and it's just so it promotes what I'm selling, and it makes me feel like I'm like doing something double, or sorry, it makes me feel like I'm multitasking, and I'm like promoting it and shipping it, so I definitely tell everybody, go live when you're packaging things, because that's one thing that a lot of people don't even like think that artists do in their mind, because they think that we paint all day and it's amazing, but no, we do a lot of shipping and it sucks. But going live and talking to your customers, they get to see you physically packaging it, and they're like, hey, what is she packaging? I want that. And so it just does double duty like that.
Or they see the one that they bought and can be like, that's mine. And again,
this is shout outs like, hey, this one's going to Becky.
You are so creepishly like me. I'm telling you, my followers are probably like, no, Eva does these things.
Good.
I don't go live yet to do shipping. What I wanted to do, and there are things I'm afraid of, like what if I toot on camera or something like that. Not doing short live, but I wanted to set up like a GoPro and follow me the whole day. Everything I do, and anyone can tune in at any time.
I've had that idea before. That's so funny.
And it also builds the appreciation, like you said, because they don't get how long it takes me. I'm like, do you know how long my printer takes me? Do you know how long the actual typing out the address? Some of my stuff is through Shopify, so I print the label. But no matter how good my Wi-Fi is, I hit print, and then it's all loading. Loading. And I'm like, okay, while that's loading, let me start this. And then I turn around, and it's been ready to go. And then I run back to my computer. I'm like, print. Okay, run back to this thing. And it's like, if things moved as quick as I do, like with my computer, I'd be done with shipping so fast. But I have to sit there and wait. And then a lot of them are like, I have 4 orders open. And I'm like, okay. And what people don't realize is I don't just pull up your order. it goes in order of how they came in. And then if I click on it, I have to go down this huge rabbit hole of, okay, what other orders do they have open? And then I'd have to hit the back button a whole bunch, would take forever. So I'm like, it's not easy for me. Try to buy everything at once. And like, if they do my live sales, they're trying to buy the things on sale. And then they'll open another cart for things that might take like 2 weeks to get in, like pillows and all that. And I'm like, I want to combine shipping, but this one's ready to go. And my room is small. Like, I don't have tons of storage. So I'd rather just get this in the mail. So it's the double shipping. It's them like, I'm helping you. And I'm like, you are, but Shopify doesn't work that. I can't just see all your orders in one spot unless I search you.
They need
and I have to do that for like 100 customers.
Oh yeah.
It's too much. And then I have to refund them shipping because they didn't ship with it. And I'm like, oh, you guys have no idea what I do. So it's something I want to do though. And so now with you saying that, I'm like, maybe I should move forward with going live when I ship.
Well, it's great because I get everything in order first. Like I have a system set down and I'll like go through the system and okay, now I'm ready to go live. Now I got it figured out.
Now you got it done.
Yeah. We have about 5 minutes left on here and Instagram will automatically kick us off. I could literally talk to you all day.
I know, it's gross. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. Yeah, we're definitely on the same vibe about a lot of things. But so I just have one last question for you.
Sure.
I ask everybody, is there any advice that you would give to artists who want to make art their full-time career but don't know where to even start?
Absolutely. The first thing is use every free platform you can and be proud of your work. Yeah, just be proud. And I always tell people the reason I love Instagram most more than anything is that the right people will stay. If they don't want to follow you, they unfollow you. So the majority of your followers are not creepy trolls. They're like good people that want to see you succeed. So start there. I always say start with your free platform. Start getting your work out there. Show people what you can do. Create your boundaries from the get-go. I didn't have boundaries. I got taken advantage of a lot. I did a lot of work that pretty much sold for nothing. And now it's like, oh my gosh, I sold that for nothing. And learning and never compare. Ever. I know it's hard to do, but I don't look at you and go, wow, look at it. No, you're you. That's awesome. And congratulations. You are doing amazing things and finding a way to help artists. And that's what I'm all about too. So those are my top 3 things. And don't try to be somebody else. You're going to grow in your own pace. You're going to hate things you did 6 months ago. You're going to hate things you did a year ago. But just keep pushing forward and you'll find your people. If you love what you're doing, other people will love it too. You have to love it first. You have to fall in love with your art. So
that's so true. Bam. That's such a mic drop moment. Just you have to fall in love with your art or other people won't. Like it's all about you. You're your salesperson and you are a fabulous salesperson if I do say so myself. I can feel just your excitement and your love for what you do. And I think that's such a key element in people succeeding. And I think you're a great example of that. So.
Oh, thank you so much. I just always say there's so many people that are like, I'm just going to do this full time. And I'm like, you have no idea what goes into that. So but you have to genuinely love it. You're your own boss. So you're the hardest on yourself. You're absolutely the hardest on yourself. So I hope more people do it. And I think with all your podcasts, it's just so inspiring. I'm so glad you found me. Thank you so much.
We're now internet friends. So
yes,
we should do this again. And I will be in contact with you about the Patreon tutorial.
Okay, thank you so much. And I saw most comments. So thanks you guys for commenting. I saw what you were writing.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too. Be productive.
Okay. Bye. Yes. Be productive. Bye. This episode is sponsored by the Mural Master Program inside of the Artist Academy Advanced membership. This program is specifically designed to help you with every step of the mural process. From coming up with an idea, to finding a wall to paint it on, to pitching your ideas to businesses, and finally, of course, I teach you exactly how to paint large scale. Murals are a lot of fun and a great way to grow your art business. I know, because it has been one of the top ways that I've been able to grow my own art business as quickly as I have. With several years of experience as a muralist, I've dialed down the painting techniques, the proposals, the pitching, the whole bit. And now I've compiled it into one resource for you called the Mural Master Program. This is included inside of the Artist Academy Advanced membership, and I would love to invite you to join us by going to artistacademy.co, that is artistacademy.co, and click the link to see the Mural Master Program and learn more. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. If you review our podcast and send a screenshot of that review to me on Instagram, I am Art by Andrea Earhart. I will gladly share your art on my Instagram story with a reach of over 60,000 as a thank you for helping us grow this Artist Academy community. And speaking of community, if you would like to be a part of our absolutely free and very encouraging community on social media, just head over to facebook.com/groups/Artist Academy, and I will see you next week.